I found out my wife was leading a secret double life online, exposed everything, divorced her, and got full custody of our son. My name is Ethan, 39 male, and for over a decade I thought I had a solid, if unremarkable, marriage with my wife Lauren, 34F. I work as a hotel receptionist, and Lauren was a nurse at a local hospital. We've been married for 12 years, and together we have a 10-year-old son, Lucas. Our everyday married life was nothing spectacular, just two working parents doing their best, struggling financially at times, but always getting by somehow. Lauren was not only a great wife, but also half the foundation of our family. She worked tirelessly, splitting the responsibilities so neither of us felt completely overwhelmed. My salary as a receptionist barely covered much, so I also picked up extra shifts at a food court. The downside was, the two of us were rarely at home at the same time, but the weekends we did get together felt sacred. Lucas, meanwhile, spent his days with his grandparents, and we'd usually bring him home around 9. Sometimes when Lauren had overnight hospital shifts, he'd stay with his grandparents longer. For a while, life may have been hectic and far from glamorous, but it was manageable, with its share of peace and stress. I was always grateful for Lauren and how she stood by me, even when things were tough. Still, both of us being so busy meant we were kind of absent parents, and that guilt never really left me. But I told myself it was necessary for survival. Everything started unraveling after Lauren got back from a friend's wedding. Not just any wedding, it was this ridiculously lavish 5-day affair. I was invited too, but with my workload and needing to save the cash, I opted out. When Lauren returned home, she was unusually withdrawn, hardly speaking at all. I tried to be gentle, asking if everything was okay, but she just snapped at me, so I figured the best thing was to give her some breathing room. But it got worse. Lauren got even colder, almost like she was angry with me, but refused to ever tell me what I'd done wrong. Then, one night at dinner, it all boiled over. I asked, just making conversation, if she wanted to watch a movie together. She ignored me a couple times, then out of nowhere, completely blew her top. She yelled that marrying me was a mistake, that she regretted our life together, and complained about how all her friends were living out these dream lives while she was stuck with a husband like me, who couldn't give her what she wanted. She said I failed her, wasn't enough of a man, and launched into a tirade about never even taking her to the cinema, always having to settle for our hand-me-down TV. She stormed out, leaving her food unfinished. I was just silent. In a weird way, I'd been bracing myself for something like this, maybe even subconsciously expecting it. I didn't blame her for wanting more. Everyone wants things. All I could do was resolve to look for better jobs and keep trying. The next day, Lauren didn't come home at her usual time, texting that she picked up extra hours at the hospital. Lucas and I waited, but it got late, so I put him to bed. I dozed off myself. Lauren finally stumbled in around 4 in the morning. I coaxed her, told her to lie down and I'd handle the morning chores. I put my arm around her and tried to be affectionate, tried initiating sex. She brushed me off, practically recoiling, and told me not to touch her. I respected her boundaries, of course, but the way she snapped made it feel like I disgusted her. I stuffed down my worries and focused on other things. Sunday morning, I tried to keep things normal. I called her for breakfast, but she came down all sour-faced. She asked me for my bank card, said she wanted to buy herself a fancy lingerie set. I'd been tucking money away for Lucas, but I couldn't say no. When I hesitated asking if she could wait just a week until I got paid, she hurled the card back at me, called me stingy, and accused me of not even wanting to get her basic things. I grabbed her wrist, apologized 1,000 times, and practically begged her to take the card. She finally accepted, kissed my cheek in a forced sort of way, and left. I noticed her phone was buzzing, a bunch of notifications about registration codes for new social media apps. Before I could open it, she came back in and snatched up her phone. Later, when I dropped Lucas off at his grandparents', I got a text from my bank. $1,200 had been withdrawn. I just sat in my car, dumbfounded, running my hands through my hair, trying to process her wild spending. I called Lauren and told her to come home. She did, and I confronted her about what she'd bought. How could anyone spend that kind of money all at once? That money was for our family. She started crying and shouting, turning everything around on me, saying I'd ruined her life and never fulfilled her wishes. She went on and on about how all her friends lived in luxury while we struggled at the bottom. I told her she was acting greedy and selfish, that she'd known what she was marrying into. I'd always tried my best. I asked what had changed. Things weren't like this just a few months ago. Lauren, teary-eyed and almost guiltily, explained, at the wedding, her friends had all been decked out in branded clothes with luxury bags and accessories. They'd made cracks about whether her husband was pulling his weight. She said she felt shamed. My heart twisted for her and I forgave her, reminded her not everyone could keep up with that lifestyle, and that she should feel proud of being such a hardworking, independent woman. We hugged, and for a little while, things seemed to patch up. I even felt that sense of connection again when we were intimate that night. But the peace didn't last. Soon, her phone was buzzing non-stop again with notifications from some new app. I couldn't tell which one just by looking at the lock screen, and I couldn't unlock it. I asked her for her password, told her about the texts. She just shrugged, refused to say anything, snatched up her phone and left the room. That night, after she'd fallen asleep, I tried to unlock her phone again, but failed. It bugged me that she'd changed the password. The next day was our wedding anniversary. I remembered, but acted like I'd forgotten, wanting to surprise her. After dropping her at the hospital, I rushed back to our place and decorated it with lilies and warm lighting. Lucas was spending the night with his grandparents, so I made all Lauren's favorite foods and set the table. She came home looking exhausted, but when she saw how beautifully I'd set everything up, her whole demeanor flipped. She hugged me so tight. We had a lovely evening, but when we finally sat down, she said she appreciated my efforts, but she wished we could have gone to a fancy restaurant, like her friends. She mentioned another friend whose husband bought her a diamond ring. I felt an ache. Nothing was ever enough for her, apparently, no matter how hard I tried. Trying to save the moment, I started snapping selfies of us, but as I went to upload them, Lauren insisted I not post anything, said that our house looked cheap. The food and decorations weren't up to her standards, and she didn't want her friends to judge. It stung. She'd never been like this before. She retreated to the bedroom and called me in. She was wearing the red lingerie she bought, looked incredible. She wanted me to take some pictures of her, which led to some fun and intimacy, but it felt performative on her end. Next morning, I got a frantic call from Lucas' school. He'd gotten into a fight. His teacher told me he'd punched a classmate. Lucas explained his friend Mason had been making fun of Lauren, telling everyone she'd been fired from the hospital. Mason's mother, as it turned out, was also a nurse there. I tried to brush it off as a rumor. Surely Lauren would have told me if she'd lost her job, but a seed of doubt got implanted. I went to work, but couldn't focus all day. Something was off with Lauren, and the secrecy around her phone just made things seem worse. I didn't want to believe she was cheating on me, but I knew something was going on. Update 1. Hey all, it's been a week since I last posted. After that rumor from Lucas, I couldn't let it go. I barely slept for days. Eventually, I just drove to Lauren's hospital, introduced myself at reception, and asked to speak with her. The receptionist exchanged a worried look with another lady, before finally telling me Lauren hadn't worked there for a month. She refused to say why, but it was obvious she knew, and it was something bad. Leaving the hospital confused and angry, I questioned where Lauren had been this whole time, and how she was still bringing in money. Before I could make it to my car, Mason's mom stopped me. She apologized for Mason's remarks about Lauren and told me she had information I needed to know. She explained how, after that wedding leave, Lauren had come back obsessed over money, constantly miserable about how her life measured up. Lauren made an adult profile on social media. She told me Lauren got caught taking nude photos and making explicit videos in the hospital's storeroom. A janitor discovered her and filmed the evidence, which then spread throughout the staff. That's why she got fired. She gave me the app's name and her own number, promising to send me the profile link, telling me I needed to stop Lauren before Lucas got bullied at school over this. I begged her not to speak of it in front of Mason. I was disgusted, nauseous, heartbroken, and felt like a complete failure as a husband for not providing enough. I tried to collect myself in the car. Then I remembered seeing a suggested user on one of my own social media feeds recently. A woman in red lingerie, face hidden, but her back looked exactly like Lauren's. I dismissed it then, but now the dots were connecting. Social media only suggests contacts if you have their number saved, meaning it was almost definitely her. That evening, I arrived home to find the living room covered in shopping bags, clothes, shoes, bags. I found a bill for a $900 lipstick. I confronted Lauren about where she was getting this money. She grew defensive, then finally told me she'd been promoted at another healthcare facility and now earned more. I pretended to swallow the lie and stepped out for some air. Mason's mom texted me Lauren's adult account, and even before opening it, I knew it was hers. I had to see for myself, so I made a fake account and subscribed for $200. The moment I entered her profile, your personal nurse, I saw dozens of pictures, some from the anniversary night I just photographed. Seeing those public felt physically sickening. I saw explicit photos and filthy comments. I realized our whole marriage had been destroyed for money and validation from strangers. That did it. I called my brother Colin, who works in a law office, and got started on divorce papers. When I got home, Lauren was gone. A note left behind saying she had night shift. The irony wasn't lost on me. I knew there was only one confrontation left. Update 2. It's been some time since my last update. The divorce process nearly broke me, and moving on was harder than I thought. The day after the previous update, I woke to Lauren shouting at Lucas to keep away from her designer things. I sent Lucas to his room and then finally, for the last time, asked Lauren where all this money was coming from. She made a snide remark about me going deaf. I told her at least I hadn't lost my own self-respect. This time, I let her know what I'd discovered. I told her to keep up her personal nurse business. The divorce papers would be arriving soon. She knew what I meant. She slumped onto the couch, head in her hands. She started crying, saying she couldn't stand being humiliated by relatives and friends over her failure of a lifestyle. So, she did what she had to do to buy herself nice things. I told her that there was nothing more humiliating than exposing oneself on the internet for strangers. If she wanted to go that route, she could have told me honestly, instead of lying for months. I said I knew exactly why she'd been fired and that her actions led to Lucas being bullied. She showed no remorse, only interested in saving face now that she'd been discovered. She tried to suggest a compromise, claimed I couldn't just cut her out of Lucas's life entirely. I looked her in the eye and said I couldn't spend another day with someone who sold her body for the money. Someone who was fine with her own son growing up to face ridicule because of his mother's behavior. She followed with the same old song and dance, blaming me for being unable to provide. I told her she clearly made her own choice. Then, I grabbed Lucas, left her in the house alone, and moved in with my parents. For a week, I worked myself to the bone, picking up every shift I could, just trying to give Lucas some sense of stability. Lauren never tried contacting either of us. The divorce papers would be delivered soon. All I wanted was for this ordeal to be over. Update 3. Today, I can finally say Lauren is out of my life for good. The divorce was final, but not without another ugly battle. Lauren and her parents tried to sue for full custody of Lucas, accusing me of being a deadbeat and absent father. Lauren's family is wealthy, and tried to paint me as someone who couldn't provide for my son. I fought back, presenting the evidence of Lauren's misconduct. I argued that her actions and ruined reputation posed a danger to Lucas's well-being and mental health. There was no way I'd risk Lucas growing up in that environment, or with Lauren's parents, who always despised me, saying Lauren had married down and that I could never offer her enough. In the end, I won full custody. Lucas himself wasn't tied to his mom or especially attached, but I told the court Lauren could still visit when she wished. Lauren's parents and siblings blamed me for everything, said Lauren only ended up on this path because I couldn't give her the life she deserved. They'd always hated me, and now use this to pile on more abuse. Whatever, none of it matters. I turned the page. I've lost a lot through this whole saga, but at least I have peace now with Lucas. I hear Lauren's still on that adult site making content, and, gladly, I never forgave her, never allowed her back. I dodged a bullet. That's it for this story. This story demonstrates the chaos that erupts when trust in a relationship falls apart, and how lies can spiral into total destruction for everyone involved. Even everyday struggle can't justify betrayal. Here is a question for you. What do you think? Can a relationship ever recover once secrets of this magnitude come to light, or is that kind of trust gone forever? Share your thoughts in the comments.